What's America's biggest fuck up? Also make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Ending Southern Reconstruction after the Civil War. The problems it left are still affecting us. You have to wonder how things would have been different if Lincoln had survived. Allowing the formation of super PACs in 2010, which allowed corporations to buy every American politician. This was a thing before 2010. Healthcare. The fact getting sick is the #1 cause of bankruptcy is very telling. I get $400 taken out of every check to pay for my insurance, which doesn't cover anything until I meet my deductible. I owe in thousands of dollars of medical debt. I have an autoimmune disorder, my children have inherited health issues, and I feel like I'll never escape poverty because of our healthcare system. Current two-party system. A lot of problems could be mitigated if we had a system in place that accurately represented the views of the people. We are seeing the long-term effects of polarized, us versus them thinking. Especially after the founding fathers designed the system with multiple parties in mind, and not duopoly. Gerrymandering. For-profit medicine. Paying to live in a medical situation is just inhumane. The not-for-profit university hospital here is 3x more expensive a for-profit hospital an hour away. It's not just profit, it's that we prevent competition by law, allowing existing hospitals a monopoly, or oligopoly, where the customer doesn't even know the cost ahead of time. Letting the two-party system take hold. It's barely even a two-party system. Jonathan Pye joked a couple of years ago that Theresa May, Conservative Party Prime Minister at the time, was further left than Hillary Clinton. And I find it totally believable too. City planning. The cities are built for cars, not people. Some cities are nearly unwalkable, and Thatako's just insane to think about. I lived in Japan for a few years for my job, and it was absolutely night and day difference living in a walkable, public transportation city. I used to not really care about city planning, but I am so pro walkable cities now. Citizens United is up there. Like way up there. Allowing corporations to be treated as people. High subway. Private, for-profit prisons. It promotes the prison pipeline and further disenfranchises marginalized communities. Not giving us real Kinder eggs. This is the only actual real and valid answer. Thank you. Lack of term limits and, with it, house terms only being 2 years. These folks are running the next race almost immediately after winning the last one, and are too worried about keeping their job than doing what they think the best job may be, unless it 100% aligns with the base, which it often should not completely. That combo has led to our current complete lack of compromise. Why is the president the only position that is term limited? To me it would make sense if they were all term limited or none were. But I also haven't looked into this at all, so I may be missing some very obvious reason for these things. Adding after reading replies, I think some individual congresspeople are just as powerful, if not more so, than the president. This is why I think all should be term limited or none should be term limited. It's possible that my premise is wrong. For-profit healthcare. There is a political benefit to promise voters things we cannot afford while on a sinking ship floating on an ocean of debt. No worries, the unborn next generation has no say in the challenges we are going to leave to them. The policies of pushing debt to the next generation really has to stop. Not keeping education strong. Not paying educators well, and not keeping colleges affordable. Education has been chipped away at and financially defunded and censored to fit narratives. We have not supported it, it is not accessible to everyone, and it causes so many of the other problems for us. The number of junk ingredients and sugar allowed in food. We're addressing a solution but not understanding the cause of our health epidemic. Slavery. Slavery existed in America before it was even America. The Oxus vs Themico mentality. Tribalism exists in every country, It's a human condition. Unfortunately, social media is making it even worse with the algorithms feeding PPL things they agree on and expanding the division, politics, religion, etc. Lobbying. You meant bribing. Lobbying can be positive. You can lobby for better funding on public schools, or healthcare, or veterans affairs, or compensation for 9/11 firefighters, etc. I was member of a scientists' association to lobby for foreign scientist rights during Brexit. Mass incarceration and what seems like little will to change this at the state level. Yes, this. Our jails and prisons are now dumping grounds for the mentally ill and for people with traumatic brain injuries. Healthcare. Particularly how it handles maternal health care and maternity leave. America is downright barbaric. What they did to Natives American. I had to scroll way too far down for this. Korea. Vietnam. Iraq. Iraq again? Afghanistan. Yemen. Syria. Libya. Haiti. Latin America as a whole. The intervention in the Middle East after the wake of 9/11. 20 years pushing back the Taliban and training the Afghan army, trillions spent on equipment and training, thousands of lives lost on all sides, and the Taliban shat all over that within a month. Don't even get me started on Iraq. Also the education system favoring being able to throw or kick a ball far over everything else related to education. A lot of bad, seemingly unconnected things seem to lead back to Reagan. One, politicians should not be allowed to take any form of payment other than their salary. Caught and its immediate life sentence in prison. Also, term limits and age limits. 2. No nationwide public transportation. High-speed trains up and down the eastern seaboard, Miami to Boston, Charlotte to Atlanta to Birmingham to Nashville to Chicago to St. Louis to Denver ECT. 3. UBI and UHC would pull almost everyone out of poverty and horrible living conditions. 4. The most important. Education. 100% free, no exceptions. If you want to learn, there's a way for you to. $. Should have no bearing on how much education a person has access to. Leadership is celebrity. 1913, the Federal Reserve Act. Allowing private bankers to take over the money supply. Everything went to shit as a result. The Creature from Jekyll Island. Allowing Reagan to introduce trickle-down economics, thus indoctrinating several generations into the belief if a C-level employees make more money, so will the working Joe and Jane. If you want to know why the days of people with high school degree level jobs could afford housing and retire are over, this is the singular event that unraveled it all. Pretty much every modern-day American problem can be traced back to Reagan in some way. The fact that Hiyoko is still viewed so favorably by the American public is astounding. In the history of the country? I mean, it has to be the fact that slavery was legal in parts of the country for the first 89 years and what transpired in the next 100 years afterward. Failing to develop a reliable nationwide railroad and train transportation system and forcing us to rely on domestic aviation, effectively crippling aspects of infrastructure in various cities like LA. Interfering in other countries. It's never turned out well and led to violent hate against us. Exporting all of the manufacturing jobs, which were the backbone of the middle class, to slave wage countries. They did this to keep prices down for only one reason. So they wouldn't have to raise American wages or invest in American workers. They only needed American consumers to continue to buy their goods. When the price of goods go up in America, one would need to raise American wages so they could continue to afford the products they make. Rather than raise American wages, they exported manufacturing to lower wage countries so the product price remained unchanged and workers didn't need a raise. Compounded over decades, we find ourselves in the mess we're in. That wasn't the government that did that. It was consumers. For example, consumers chose cheap TVs from Japan over expensive domestic TVs. Nobody wanted to pay higher prices for a functionally identical product. Consumers still make those same kinds of choices today in 2023. I get cheap dental work done in Mexico for less than the price of my copay in the US instead of going to an American dentist and paying far more for a functionally identical product. Central banks have to be at the top of the list. Allowing a corporation to replace the republic was related to banking.